Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking a story that is just an absolute masterclass in storytelling and, honestly, features some of the best animation I've seen in a long time. We're traveling to the year 2041. 12 elite hikers have gathered in the freezing shadow of Mount Everest. But this isn't your typical expedition story about oxygen tanks and frostbite. This is a journey driven by a wild rumor, the existence of a hidden summit way beyond the known peak of Everest, a place where reality itself is said to bend before the divine.
Now, what if the highest peak on Earth isn't a test of strength, but a test of the soul? It's a pretty profound thought, right? For over a century, Everest has been the ultimate physical crucible. But I want you to keep this central question in mind as we go through this explainer. What if the mountain is not measuring your muscles or your climbing gear? What if it's literally measuring the weight of your spirit?
Okay, let's dive into this. Part 1. The burdens we carry. To really understand this 2041 expedition, we have to look at the 12 elite climbers standing at base camp. Sure, they packed their physical gear, but look at the unseen baggage they brought along. We're talking ambition, greed, grief, pride, redemption, and faith. When you bring that kind of heavy psychological intensity to an environment that is already trying to kill you, well, things are going to get explosive. They were hunting for a supernatural summit, but they dragged all their earthly flaws right up the mountain with them.
And that brings us to Part 2, the mountain's merciless trials.
The mountain didn't just get steeper, it got merciless in completely terrifying ways. Look at this timeline. It starts deceptively well with clear skies, but as they push into the white abyss, you get massive avalanches and absolutely plunging temperatures. Then it gets psychological in the death zone. Strange phenomena pop up. Hikers actually start seeing their own memories literally walking beside them in the snow. And finally, the storm beyond, bringing screaming winds and absolute zero visibility.
In that death zone, the mountain basically became a judge. It judged every single weakness. One climber, totally consumed by greed, saw an illusion of endless wealth and just stepped right into a crevasse. Another abandoned the group for revenge after seeing visions of old enemies. Another went completely mad, and one died just trying to save a friend. The mountain systematically broke them at their most vulnerable points.
So out of the 12 elite professionals who started, only 5 remained.
But the trials were far from over. As that crazy supernatural storm descended near the summit, 2 climbers actually sacrificed themselves to anchor the ropes so the others wouldn't blow away. Another one froze to death, desperately carrying an injured teammate. So after all that unthinkable sacrifice and the howling wind, exactly 2 climbers survived the storm.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is Part 3, ambition versus gratitude.
Take a look at the massive contrast between our final 2 climbers. On the left, you've got Vikram. He's the celebrated adventurer, completely obsessed with glory and fame. And on the right, Arjun, just a humble school teacher who is carrying nothing but pure gratitude. They're standing right at the threshold of the divine, but they are driven by 2 totally opposing forces.
Through the storm, they find this impossible crystal ice staircase. Vikram sees it and just sprints for it, dreaming of the headlines. But in this highly spiritual, metaphysical space, human desire has literal weight. With every step, his ambition became chains. He grew heavier and heavier until he was completely crushed by the weight of his own ego. He just collapsed, unable to move another inch.
Arjun, on the other hand, walked slowly. He didn't care about being the first or the most famous. His heart was just full of deep, peaceful gratitude for the climbers who sacrificed their lives to get him there. Because he was carrying literally zero selfish weight, his steps were light. The mountain recognized his purity and simply accepted him, allowing him to pass.
Arjun steps off the crystal ice into Part 4, Encountering the Divine.
And I have to say, the spiritual focus and the animation in this cosmic vision sequence are just phenomenal. Arjun stands on this silent, moonlit plateau, and seated right at the center in deep meditation is Lord Shiva. You see galaxies visibly swirling within his matted locks, the sacred river Ganga flowing from eternity, and a crescent moon shining brighter than the stars. The universe literally seems to breathe with him. It's truly a reality-altering moment.
Totally overwhelmed by the quiet stillness and the sheer scale of the divine, Arjun just falls to his knees. He doesn't ask for power or blessings. He just trembles in reverence and asks the one thing on his mind. Why was I allowed to reach you?
Lord Shiva opens his eyes and gives an answer that completely redefines achievement. because you climbed not to conquer the mountain, but to understand yourself. So the crucial point here is that the mountain was never an enemy to be beaten. It was a mirror. Arjun survived because he navigated his own inner landscape, not just the rock and ice.
This leads to a massive revelation in Part 5, Mastery over the Self.
Lord Shiva shows Arjun the lives of the fallen climbers, revealing a pretty stunning truth. None of them had truly failed. Each one was simply confronted by the deepest truth within their own heart. The mountain forced them to meet the physical manifestation of their souls. It was never a test of their climbing technique. It was a test of their absolute purity.
The ultimate teaching Lord Shiva leaves Arjun with is this: the summit is mastery over the self. The highest peak isn't Mount Everest. True elevation isn't about meters above sea level. It's about the depth of your self-awareness and your ability to finally let go of your ego.
Fast forward a few weeks, and the real world catches up. Rescue teams find Arjun sitting peacefully near the known peak. There is no evidence of the hidden plateau, no crystal staircase, no divine encounter. But Arjun himself is completely transformed. He comes back down, doesn't write a book, doesn't chase cameras. He seeks absolutely no fame or greatness for what he survived.
But you know, the mountain remembers. To this day, the legend echoes among climbers. On crisp, moonlit nights up in the death zone, some say if you look up, you can see a distant figure seated high above the clouds. Some call it a myth, but others believe Lord Shiva is still there, meditating, waiting patiently for the next pure heart. So, let's bring this right back to you. We all have our own Everests, but as we've seen throughout this explainer, the struggle usually isn't the rock and the ice, it's the invisible chains we drag along with us. So I'll leave you with this. What mountain are you trying so desperately to conquer right now? And more importantly, what unseen burdens do you need to finally leave behind to reach your true summit? Thanks for hanging out with me today. Keep climbing, but remember to climb light.